Hi, I'm Lawrence from Creative Recruiters. I hope you're all doing well. I recently wrote an article on LinkedIn titled 6 Things You Need to Change with Your CV and Folio. And at the time when I wrote it, I was a little tired, a little cheeky. It's very much so tongue-in-cheek with a certain amount of tough love in it. However, these are thoughts that I stand by 100%, no matter how humorous they are. And I thought it might be worthwhile talking a little bit about these in a video for you in case you haven't read my article, although you'll find a link to the article underneath this post. So look, one of the first things that I think you should always be careful of when you're putting together your CV and folio, in the creative world, people seem to have an obsession with length of time in the industry. I can't begin to tell you how often I've read the line, I have 10 years experience, or 10 years industry experience. And they use this as a means to justify the ability to do almost absolutely anything. And, I recall having a fight with someone almost on the phone. They'd phoned about a job. They didn't match the job briefing anyway, at all. And when I asked them why I felt that they were a good match for the role, all they could keep saying was, I have 10 years industry experience. Now, the reality is that that's not going to be good enough, especially if a client has approached a recruitment agency to try to find the best match for their brief. We need to be very clear here. At the end of the day, yes, 10 years industry experience is something to be proud of. However, you need to be able to realise that there are a lot of people out there that have 10 years industry experience and are potentially even better than you. You need to be able to tap into what it is about you that is uniquely good and to be able to push that forward. Another thing I see is people using percentages to rate their skill set on software. This is particularly on online folios. I recently saw someone who rated themselves 99% on Photoshop. And my obvious question then is, what is the 1%? What is it that you can't do? How do people come up with these percentages? It seems very ad hoc. My suggestion would be to replace it with, beginners, intermediate and advanced level. That way it feels a little bit more open instead of trying to be very precise, which is what percentages tend to be. I did have the article, my own joke, did you know that 86.63% of statistics are made up on this blog? Boom, boom, yes, I'll see myself out. Using pretentious quotes. Now look, this is obviously one that some people are going to love, some people are not. But when you open up quotes and you open up CVs and folios and you see quotes there by people that are meant to be inspiring or to show they're a serious designer, and quite often it just comes across as being a little bit naff, if I'm completely honest. You might disagree with me. This is just subjective opinion. There's no right or wrong with this. You can by all means not listen to me and continue to fill the entire page with pretentious quotes if you want. But in my experience, trying to educate people who are already in the design industry about design is generally not a good idea. It's just something worth considering. Your folio. A folio consists of just the same thing over and over again. And in the article I wrote about, this is true, someone who sent me a folio that had about 10 pages of press ads. Nothing else. Press ads. And as I said, on page 1, I figured they could do press ads. By page 5, I began to wonder if all they could do is press ads. And by page 10, it seemed to be an unhealthy obsession with press ads. So your folio needs to consist of diversity. It needs to show the range of work you can do, both practical and a bit of that wow factor as well. If you find that all you can do is 10 pages of press ads, you need to consider how you're going to develop your skill further beyond that. Now, it's not saying you're a bad designer by any means. It's just I don't know many jobs that are going to consist solely of doing press ads. And so if I send that through to a client, they're going to look at it and say, this is just 10 pages of press ads. I'm sure you get what I mean. There are lots of things you can do out there to help develop further skills. If you jump on Amazon, you can find books made up of mock design briefs that you could use to challenge yourself to see what you can come up with. It's certainly worth having a look at. The other thing with folios and CVs is quite often people will just send me a page with a picture on it of the piece. No description of what they've done. I just don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at. I know I'm looking at a press ad, but what did you do on the press ad? How many people worked on it? Was it just you, or were you part of a team? How were you briefed? What was the client brief? Give me a bit of a story. I want to find out a little bit about how this piece came to be and why you think it's worthy to be included in your folio as a representation of your work. This comment caused a bit of discussion in my office as well. And this is about folios that include a combination of your commercial work and, if you're an artist, your fine art work. And I did rather sarcastically say if someone wanted fine art, they'll go to a gallery. But it's true. Ultimately, the folio is about you, not for you. Okay? If you want to create a book of fine art, go and do that. But the reality is that the folio should be showing what you can offer a client. And most clients, again, as much as they might appreciate your fine art, are not going to necessarily care about it too much. Unless you can justify why that fine art is included in the sense of it showing another layer of your design capability. But design and fine art are kind of two separate areas in that sense. And I think anyone who does both will be able to recognise and appreciate the differences that exist there. So look, in conclusion, as I mentioned in the article, this is subjective, okay? All opinions are subjective. There is no right or wrong. But I do offer these pieces of advice based on the many years of experience I have, looking at the many CVs and folios that I have over time as well. I know which ones make myself and my clients out there go, wow, this person is incredible, this person is amazing, let's get them in. And which ones I look at and go, I'm not getting it. I'm not seeing what this person is supposed to offer. So if you were to put on your client cap and pretend that you were on the lookout to hire someone, go through your CV and folio, would you hire you? Now, obviously we're going to be biased and go, yeah, sure. But I'll tell you a story. Many years ago, we used to have these things called hiring grids. Okay, you put your, the candidate's name in and the different skill sets that we're looking for, and the numbers that are in there as to how they rated against that, and at the end you get a percentage as to how much of a match they are. And when I was doing that, I put myself into one of the jobs and realised that I probably would not rank for that. And it was an interesting eye-opener in the sense that it made me step back and consider, well, what is it then? What are my gaps? What am I missing? And what can I do to be accountable for my career to make changes and do things differently? And that's the invitation I give to you. All advice is given in the most positive of attention, especially with us here at Creative Recruiters. We do tend to be quite direct, but that's because we actually believe that people deserve to have fair, honest feedback. But it's all done with the intention of you becoming better and becoming more employable. So that's my rant for today. It does feel a bit like a rant, doesn't it? I'm truly sorry. However, if you do have any questions regarding this and any comments, feel free to add them below. Always open for some feedback as well. And I don't mind tough love either. If I go home and start rocking in the corner and crying, I will blame you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you sometime soon. Take care.